We are standing in the building of national champions. I'm Stephen Means, and that's Andrew Gillis. We're national champions too, but for different reasons. We just talked to Ryan Day and every single assistant. And Andrew, you're the one who asked this question, so I'm going to give you the floor. But first, I'm going to set you up because that's what you're supposed to do when you're on video. You asked Ryan Day flat out about Tyler Bowen, the new offensive line coach, and the idea of how much the recruiting aspect mattered when going through the interview process. And his word was?
Big.
And then he said more.
And then he said more. This was a big part of, obviously, what Ryan Day was looking for. I asked Tyler that exact same question. I said, how much do you think that had a part? And he goes, oh, gee, I don't know. And I'm not.
He said OG?
I don't know if he said OG. I don't think he did. I'm not quoting him directly. But it was more of like I'm not, oh, that's a better question for Ryan. I hope it had something to do with it. And then we had the head coach 20 minutes earlier saying, yes, it had a big part to do with it. Ohio State, the offensive line recruiting, if you have been following along with Buckeye Talk, if you've been following along with Ohio State recruiting, you know that offensive line recruiting has always kind of been a question mark for this team, at least in these last couple of years. Now, they've brought in some good transfer portal players, Seth McLaughlin, Josh Simmons. They bring in 2 tackles this past year. Both of those guys are expected to start in 2025. So you look at them and you say, okay, the transfer portal classes have been good. The development's been really good, but the recruiting is the one area that you could probably point to and say, this has been lacking. Ryan Day mentioned that, that is an area that he expects all of his coaches to succeed at. He uses the kind of the coach speak answer a lot of head coach of your room, but development, personnel, recruiting, these are all things that he grades the coaches on. And he said at signing day a couple of months ago that we have to look at this. We have to evaluate what we're doing as it relates to offensive line recruiting. So I think there is a hope that with Ryan Day and Tyler Bowen that, you have found somebody that can do that. I think you're starting to see that. Ohio State has sent out a couple different offers to offensive linemen across the country, really, in these last couple of weeks since Bowen has gotten hired. The recruiting is a little slow right now to dead periods and stuff like that. So Tyler Bowen is looking to try and get some face-to-face time with these kids. Spring visits are coming. Ohio State's going to start spring practice in the next couple of weeks. So we're not going to really know a ton about Tyler Bowen recruiting for a couple of weeks, at least, for a couple of months, more likely, and maybe even like a year. But I think Ryan Day is pretty hopeful that this is the guy because, again, this was a large part of why Tyler Bowen was hired. Of course, you want somebody that can develop. Of course, you want somebody that, as he said, can help out a young offensive coordinator like Brian Hartline, somebody who's been around the run game, somebody who's been a coordinator and called plays to be in that room. But recruiting is a big part of why he was hired and a big part of why Tyler Bowen is here at Ohio State.
That's that side of things. He's also going to have to figure out his offensive line, which this is going to be an interesting spring for that group as well, where you've got a lot of kind of starters returning, but no full-time starters when you lose a Remington Award winner, potential first-round draft pick at left tackle, and your All-American left guard as well. That's a lot to replace along with Josh Fryer being gone as well. We'll continue to talk about this on Buckeye Talk. And go get the text, 614-350-3315. Tyler Bowen out on the road. This is the guy who's going to be texting you when Tyler Bowen's out on the road talking to guys to refill Ohio State's offensive line room. It's Andrew, Stephen.